Wouldn't it be nice in woodworking if all of our cuts were straight up and down or straight across, no angles? Well, like an old friend that I had from Texas would say, that ain't happening. In fact, if you look at the tools that we use in the shop all the time, all of them have the ability, or most of them have the ability, of making some sort of angle. Your table saw has a tilting arbor to cut angles. Miter saw, that's what it's all set up for, is to cut very angles. You make saw sleds that cut angles. Just lots and lots of things that allow you to cut angles. In fact, there are lots and lots of tools that help you to measure angles. Angles are a big part of woodworking. So, you don't want to talk about it, but let's talk about it. One of the most common angles that you're ever going to come in contact with is a 90 degree. But if you do a 90-degree corner with a mitered cut, you have to cut your boards at 45 degrees. Same thing if you have a 45-degree corner and you do a mitered corner, you have to have a 22.5-degree angle. All of these angles that we talk about, when we talk about those in degrees, they come from 360 degrees that make a full circle. So everything is kind of divided out from a portion of a full circle 360 degrees. Odd angles might be brought into play in some aspects of woodworking, and you might have to work a little bit with that. But if you're working with the majority of angles, they're going to be some sort of fraction of 360 degrees. Well, the outside of the angle and the angles that you cut, you've got to know how to do that. And basically, that's what we're going to talk about. Let's say we're going to make well, okay, let's back up. Let me show you why I'm even talking about that. I've got an upcoming project where I'm making a column that is 8-sided. And 8-sided, I'm still making a column, a circle out of it, but I've got an 8-sided circle. So each one of my angles on the outside is 45 degrees, just like I showed you over here. So my cut had to be 22.5 degrees to the inside, and then I glued it up with my blue tape clamp. In fact, I just barely got it done, so you can see I still have my blue tape clamps on. But what if you had more? What if you had a lot more? Say you had 12 sides. Your angle on your outside would be 30 degrees, divided by 2 would be 15. If you did a lot, say you had 20 sides or 20 outside angles, for every side you have one outside corner. So if you had 20 outside corners, your angle on that outside corner is 18 degrees and your cut would be 9 degrees. So anytime you have a miter, a true mitered corner, no matter what the degree of the outside of the corner, the cut has to be 1/2. And just like I did on my column here, my outside angle was 45, but my cut was 22.5 degrees. Now, just for fun, I did that 12-sided circle. These angles are 30 degrees and my cut is 15. And you can see the more pieces that you have in your circle, the smoother your circle is. Now, years ago, I helped in the restoration of a large historic home that had the big white columns out in front. Well, you don't just buy big white columns, they had to make them. And this is how they made those big columns. They divided a circle by the number of sides that they were willing to put into it and glued them together just like this. And it was almost all smooth when they got all done. And all they had to do was just sand off those sharp corners. They were able to make a nice, smooth, large column for the front of that historic home restoration. Always nice to be able to know how to do angles. And angles are so important. Everything we do has at least one angle, even if it's just a 90-degree angle. But learning to do angles, learning to find angles, learning to have use the equipment that we have that helps us cut the angles, or the tools that we have that help us measure and find the angles, those are all important skills to have in your woodworking. Skills that we like to be able to have as part of our understanding and learning here on Woodworking with Wes.